Hi there YouTube, I'm John McCann and I'm here with the LG G5 for our full video review. I've had this phone and used it for easily over a week now, so I've had loads of time to really test it out, see how it is, see how easy it is to use. So let's dive into the review and find out just what the LG G5 has in store. So kicking off our LG G5 review video, we're going to start by looking at design. Now when I first picked this up over a week ago, I was initially a little bit disappointed. I picked it up and LG have been talking about its full metal body, aluminium frame, but you pick it up and it doesn't immediately scream to you metal. There have been questions raised about this, and it actually turns out that there is a relatively thick layer of paint primer mix coated over the unibody aluminium of the G5. So it does have a unibody aluminium chassis, but there is a layer of this paint primer mix which takes off the sort of metal sheen a bit. So when it sits in your hand, it just doesn't feel quite as premium. This is comparing it to the likes of the Samsung Galaxy S7, the iPhone 6s, and the recently launched HTC 10. Those all feel really like metal in your hand. You can feel the metal and the glass in the S7's case in your hand. It gives that sort of premium appeal. The G5 just doesn't quite match those phones in the same sort of way, and that's a little bit disappointing. It is worth mentioning, if you do nick the LG G5, because of that paint primer mix, the colouring can come off, and instead of the same colour underneath, you'll have sort of a whitey metal look, so it can look a bit messy if you do drop it, so just be careful. In terms of looks, it's going to be a little bit hit and miss as well. It's an interesting dual camera layout with a little bump around it, and the rear fingerprint scanner as well, also a slight volcanic bump around that. And it's not going to win rear of the year, but you know, it's relatively inoffensive, but maybe LG could have started it just a little better. Around the front, things are better indeed. The large screen is there for all to see, and there is a bit of bezel above and below, but down the sides it is very slender. So overall, front on, it's a lot better than maybe around the back. It sits in the hand nicely. As I say, the bezels either side of the screen means you can really grip it. One-handed use is possible, but it can be a bit of a reach to get to the far corners with your thumb, so you may need to employ a couple of hands when you are really moving around the screen a lot. But I was able to text and type and do various other bits and bobs on your phone with just the one hand, so it is there. Those with smaller hands may find it a bit big. That is a 5.3-inch QHD display on the front of the handset. That's smaller than the LG G4, which had a 5.5-inch display at the same resolution. So the pixel density here is slightly sharper, and it still looks great. It's nice and bright and vibrant, and it's really good for gaming and sort of Netflix binges and stuff. So it's a screen that I very much enjoyed using. Another nice feature is the always-on display. The issue with it, it's a little faint. I would like it to be a bit brighter than it is at the moment. But one of the really good things is it will show any notification icon on this always-on display. Against Samsung's Galaxy S7, that only showed text messages or missed calls, which was really relatively pointless. This, on the LG, their particular notification display is much better, but it's not quite as bright. It's not a massive feature perhaps, but it's one that is genuinely useful. I find it on my desk most of the days, just glancing over, seeing if I've got a Google Hangout notification here, so it allows you to make that decision whether to fire up the battery intensive screen or just to leave it off for the moment and come to it later. So moving on to specs and performance, and the LG G5 is laden with power. It's got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 processor and 4 GB of RAM, meaning there's plenty of grunt behind the scenes to run pretty much anything you can throw at it. I've played a lot of Real Racing 3 on this phone, and it's very graphically intensive, but it runs it without issue. Load times are really quick, navigating around the interface is really fluid, so you're going to really enjoy this if you're a power user, just being able to do pretty much anything without having to wait around. Moving on to interface, and the LG G5 uses Android Marshmallow, but LG has put its own overlay on top of that, so it looks slightly different. The major difference is there's no app drawer in the middle. It's actually a camera icon, so all your apps are stored on home screens. Some people will love that, some people will hate that. There is a way to get that app drawer back. You have to download an older version of the UI from LG's own sort of app world. It's a little bit clunky to do, but there is a how-to on our website if you're interested in doing that. But for now, we're going to stick with the stock version, so there's no app drawer. Things look a little bit different in the notification panel as well. slightly different to stock Android, but still a clean, fresh experience, and it is easy to use. If you can get over the app drawer missing, then you're not going to have too many problems with the interface on the LG G5. It's all very intuitive if you've used Android before, and for those maybe moving from iOS, then you're going to enjoy having all your apps in the same place. In terms of battery, the LG G5 actually has a smaller power pack than its predecessor, the LG G4. It's packing a 2,800 milliamp option, whereas its predecessor had a 3,000 milliamp option. But it's not a huge issue. There's a USB-C charging port at the base of the phone, allowing you to charge it up, and the cable can plug in both ways. And it's also quick charge 3.0 enabled, allowing you to top up about 50% in half an hour if you have the right adapter plugged into your wall. So that is a handy feature. In terms of battery life itself, things aren't so great. I found with moderate to heavy usage, the LG G5 wouldn't see out a day at all. I'd be topping up just before I left the office, otherwise it would be dead by early evening. With slightly more moderate usage, like today, I've had a relatively low usage day. I'm now on 50% at 3:30 in the afternoon, so it's doing a lot better. But if you really start to push it, you're going to have some problems. I've also found that the phone idle time, it loses a lot of power there as well, up to maybe 20% on some days, which is slightly concerning. You could always turn off the always on display, which will help regain some of that life, but it is worth noting. So one of the big features of the LG G5 is its dual cameras round the back. You've got your main 16 megapixel camera, which is great for everyday shots. It's got a laser autofocus for really quick focusing, allowing you to get really pin sharp images, even of moving objects. And there's a great auto mode, which does a pretty good job in most conditions, allowing you not having to tweak too much with the settings, but there are pro modes if you want them to really fine tune those. So you can get quite in depth with your photography if you so wish. On the other side is the 8 megapixel wide angle lens. Now this actually has a wider field of view than your eye, allowing you to get a lot more into your shot. It gives you a really great image, especially for sweeping landscapes or tall buildings. It can generate some really impressive shots. Of course, quality isn't quite as good at 8 megapixels versus the 16 megapixels, so you lose a little bit in detail, but you do make up in terms of what you can fit in, and it's a really nice effect. And those two lenses on the rear are really easy to use. There's a really simple little couple of buttons on the right hand side of the display, and I really like how you can just swap between them without having to mess around with any fussy menus. On other phones, sometimes some of the key modes in the camera are hidden away, so you forget about them, but at least here they're right in front of you, you can't miss them, and it's really handy just to go, oh yeah, I've got a wide angle mode, let's just bang into that and get a lot more into my shot and get a really nice photo. So there's also a manual pro mode on the LG G5 as well, allowing you to adjust a wide variety of things, including focus, ISO, white balance, exposure levels, allowing you to really fine tune those photos. If you want to get down and dirty with your photography, if you want a really professional finish, you can do that all here on the LG G5. I found most of the time the auto mode was more than sufficient for what I wanted to do, but you know, it is worth playing around with the manual controls if you've got a bit of time, because you can make some really nice shots. Another big draw for the LG G5 is its modular capabilities. There's a button down below on the side of the phone. You give that a press and you pull the bezel and the battery slides out. You can then unclip the battery from the bottom bezel and then clip that battery into another module to give the G5 extra functionality. There's only two out currently for the handset. The first one is LG's Cam Plus module. Now you clip the battery into it, lining up the two arrows on the battery, the two arrows on the module, slide it all into the G5 carefully, then give it a little band to get in. And then you've got a handy camera grip on the back of the handset that lets you hold it in a more conventional camera style, and there is a shutter button and a dedicated video record key on the top to make it really easy to snap those photos. Press the shutter key halfway down and it will be able to set the focus, and then depress it fully to snap your photo. It's a nice little feature. There's a little scroll wheel as well at the side, allowing you to zoom in and out really easily. Another bonus feature for this is that it comes with a 1200 milliamp battery packed inside as well, giving you extra juice on top of the 2800 version inside the phone, allowing you to go on for longer. While it is great for photography and great for the battery life, it's not so great any other time. Holding it in the hand is quite tricky. It's obviously bulking in the palm. It makes it a bit bottom heavy. It makes it awkward to type. It's awkward to put in your pocket, and it just generally gets in the way a bit. You'd want to really swap back to the normal bezel when you're not using it, but it is annoying having to carry both around, especially when this bottom bezel, there's no cover or little pouch that you can put it in that comes with the phone or the accessory, so it could get damaged. So I used this for a good 2 days with just the Camera Plus on, and while it was handy for battery and camera, I wouldn't pay the £80 or equivalent in your own region that LG is asking for it. It just seems a bit steep. Another module that is available for the LG G5 is LG's HiFi Plus. This is made in conjunction with B&O, and it allows you to get high-res audio from your phone. Now, this is far less obtrusive than the Cam Plus module, just extending the length of the handset slightly, so it's a lot easier to use. You can put it in your pocket, it doesn't really get in the way, so that's nice. It comes with its own headphone port, so confusingly, if you use this, you've got one on the bottom and one on the top, but it's the bottom one you want. And it is an improved audio experience, although don't expect a complete gulf in sound. The sound output from the top headphone jack of the LG G5 is still very good. And while there was a difference when I plugged into the bottom, I wouldn't say it was worth the £150 or $200 that LG is asking for it. It does seem like a very steep extra expense, which for most people won't give them much of a difference. I'm not a big audiophile, and when I could hear a slight difference, I was more than happy with the performance at the top of the phone, which means I'm not really too fussed about this module. For those who really love their music, it will be a nice little feature to have if you're willing to shell out the money, but for most people, I'd say give it a miss. So there you have it, the LG G5, a really solid, good smartphone from LG. It's got so much power in it, you're not going to be slowed down at all. It's got a really interesting dual camera setup, which I really kind of like. It's nice and easy to use. The design is maybe a bit hit and miss. It doesn't feel quite as premium as some of the competition, and the battery life could be better. But overall, LG have made a really good phone, and it's something that I really like. However, when it comes to recommending it, now that's a bit more tricky. If you want the best phone on the market, this probably isn't it. But if you want something a bit different to the sort of iPhones and Samsungs that are currently out there, LG always does something a bit different, a bit more intriguing, and the LG G5 is that. It gives you something different. You pull this out with your mates, and they're going to be interested just because it looks different, it does different things, the module attachments are interesting. While the current modules that are out at the moment may not be particularly mind-blowing, the hope is that down the line, third-party manufacturers will get onto this and they'll make some really cool stuff. So there is the potential there for some really exciting add-ons for the LG G5, although of course there's no guarantee that these will ever come to fruition. You've just got to take a bit of a punt. But overall, it's a very good Android phone if you're not looking for something which is really sort of a run-of-the-mill. You're going to be paying a lot of money, but there is plenty there for your money. Let us know what you think of the LG G5 in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.